Story 1. My fiancée hasn't introduced me to her friends 2 years into our relationship, and forced them to block me on social media, but I smell something fishy and want to know what they're hiding. Original poster, you/ambitious finish 879. So my fiancée, 32 feet, doesn't want me, 28 meters, to talk to her best friends at all before marriage. We have been dating for the last 2.5 years, and those 2.5 years have been mostly public. Public in the sense that both she and I like to post pictures or reels of ourselves from vacations or times together, and we were very clear that we were in a relationship on Instagram. However, she doesn't have many real-life followers from work or personal life on her Instagram. She has around 7 or 8 really good friends who she meets regularly and one cousin. We are both mature adults and decided to get married in the coming year, in November or December 2024, since we started dating. So, I thought it would be better if I introduced her to my family too last month. I took her consent and decided to meet my family at a nice restaurant in the city. My family got to know her, and they liked her, and we decided to fix the date for our wedding. But my fiancé said it would be too early for her to get married this year, so we eventually decided to set the wedding date for February 2025, 6 months from now. Usually, in my city, it's necessary to book marriage halls early enough to secure a proper venue. So, I took her consent, discussed it with my family, and booked a hall for the wedding. A few days later, she also went and booked a hall for her side of the party. It is normal in our culture to have parties from both the bride's and groom's sides. So far, I have introduced her to my family and one female friend of mine who lives in a different town with her boyfriend, and both meetings were properly planned. She also accidentally met another friend of mine in a mall. However, I have never met her friends in that manner. Only once or twice did I meet some of her friends by accident, such as when I was driving my fiancé somewhere, and 2 or 3 of her friends also hopped in. We exchanged a few words while traveling in the car. But her friends were, of course, aware that we were dating. Now, a strange incident happened last week, which left me really confused. It was a text from one of her friends on Instagram. Before this, I had never spoken to this friend except for once, a year ago, when my fiancé wasn't talking to me due to a fight. So, I texted this friend and politely asked her to talk to my fiancé since they were good friends. She said, "Okay, I will surely talk to her." I texted her friend only because I felt my fiancé was going through a lot. She had a huge financial loan, was dealing with family issues, and we had a fight. Shortly afterward, I got a call from my fiancée regarding me DMing her friend, and she angrily asked me to never talk to her again. I was surprised, but I complied since our relationship wasn't so stable back then, and I wanted to give her space. Later that day, her friend messaged me, saying, "Hey, sorry, I can't help you with this," and then blocked me on Instagram. I didn't react and let it go. That was last year's incident. Now, this same friend texted me suddenly last week because she couldn't reach my fiancé by phone, and she was worried. I politely replied, saying, "Hey, she's alright, probably busy with work. I'll inform her that you're trying to reach her." I called my fiancé and told her that her friend had texted, to which she responded, "Oh Lord, why does she have to text you? Please block her on Instagram." I found it very weird and immature to block her friend, so I told her I wouldn't. My fiancé then said, "If you don't block her, my friend will." A few moments later, I saw that I had been blocked again on Instagram by her friend. This time, I got a little angry and ended up texting her on her other Instagram handle, saying, "Hey, how are you doing? I didn't appreciate what you did, and this is not a respectable way to talk to someone. If your husband has some self-respect, he shouldn't be texting my fiancé when you guys have issues." She replied, "Hey, my husband, me, and my fiancé were in her life long before you came into it." I then politely explained that I didn't mean to interfere with their friendship and only wanted to make their bond better. I just felt disrespected for being blocked twice when I simply wanted to talk or meet them. She didn't reply to this and instead informed my fiancé, who got very angry with me again for referring to her friend's husband. I felt it was the only logical way to express myself. I am serious about her and have introduced her to my family and friends. She doesn't have many family members, her parents have passed away, and her cousins live in other countries or far away, so her friends will be the ones present at our wedding from her side. I expected her to take me a bit more seriously and maybe not ask her friends to block me on Instagram. She often visits this female friend's house, and they sometimes have sleepovers and parties with her friend and her husband, birthday parties or for other reasons. I have never had the opportunity to properly go out or meet any of her friends in an official meetup setting. I've expressed a few times that her friend brings her husband and baby along to group meetings, so maybe I could go along and meet them as well. But she is strictly against this. This recent blocking incident is really bothering me. My fiancé says, "My ex-boyfriends bothered my friends before, and I don't want that happening again." That might have made sense a year ago, but now we are getting married in 6 months. Even now, she's hesitant and says she'll introduce me to her friends only after marriage. Also, when we get married, her friends will probably need to help her with her side of the wedding arrangements, as she has no one else. So, I felt I needed to talk to them for the upcoming wedding preparations. I haven't spoken to my fiancé for the past 2 days because of this, and she's also saying she's unsure about the marriage now after I expressed my desire to meet her friends. She says she's worried I'll be controlling in the future. I feel she'll text or call me back soon. Am I asking for too much by wanting her to introduce me to her friends? What should I do? Relevant comment. What do they know about her that she doesn't want to take the chance that they might slip up on and mention to you? Response. Yeah, that's what I have been thinking all the time. Update 1. A few days ago, I posted about how my girlfriend asked one of her best friends to block me on Instagram. It hasn't been long since the blocking incident, but today, I was surprised to learn that my girlfriend's mother, whom she had always referred to as dead, is actually alive. A few weeks ago, her best friend, who is already married with one child, texted me to ask about my girlfriend's whereabouts because she couldn't reach her. When my girlfriend found out, she immediately asked me to block her friend. I refused, but she made her best friend block me instead, and the rest of the story is already detailed in my previous post. Since then, I've had trouble trusting her. My girlfriend has always told me that she has no family left. She said she was an only child and that both of her parents had passed away. She used to visit her countryside home every 3 to 4 months to see her aunt, who she said was the only person living there, but something always felt a little off. Every time she visited, she would stay for at least 2 to 3 days. There were other odd things too, like when she received phone calls, the contact name on her phone would show as Dad Home, but a woman would speak from the other end, whom she always referred to as her aunt. My girlfriend has already met my parents, and we were supposed to get married this coming February. My parents were hesitant about our marriage because they didn't like the secrecy surrounding her family, especially after my girlfriend had her best friend block me. I initially thought it was just generational differences and tried to make my parents understand that it wasn't a big deal. However, they remained uncomfortable with the situation. One day last week, they went near my girlfriend's office and asked a colleague of hers if they knew anything about her parents. Unfortunately, the colleague didn't know much. I realized this wasn't the right thing for my parents to do, but they were likely trying to protect me by seeing the situation from an outsider's perspective. I later told them it was wrong to bring these concerns into a professional space. They agreed not to do it again but urged me to investigate further before moving forward with the marriage. I started to consider my parents' point of view. My girlfriend never let me talk to her friends, relatives, or even follow them on social media. She claimed her family wouldn't approve of our marriage because inter-caste and inter-community marriages are still not widely accepted in some parts of India. Yet, she often spoke about how open-minded her parents were and how modern her upbringing had been. She also criticized my family, calling them suspicious and backward for raising concerns. She used to say that if her parents were alive, they would have definitely supported our marriage. Initially, my parents liked her when they met her and were happy about the marriage. My father even offered to cover the wedding expenses on her side since she wasn't financially well off. But their suspicions grew when she made her best friend block me. All of this made me very suspicious, so I decided to visit her countryside home today just to check things out. I pretended to be looking for someone else and knocked on the door. Her mother answered. I knew it was her mother because my girlfriend had shown me photos of her before. It was like seeing a ghost. She looked fit, healthy, and had a friendly smile, just like my girlfriend. My girlfriend and I haven't been speaking properly since the day my parents went to her office. She called my parents crazy and accused my community of being cunning and suspicious for spying on her. While I acknowledge that it was wrong of my parents to approach her office, I also think it's unfair for her to insult my family when she has been acting so suspiciously, asking her friends to block me and lying about her mother's death. I haven't spoken to my girlfriend about this discovery, and I don't know what to make of it. This was a huge lie, and I can't find any valid reason for it. Her father, as I confirmed from locals in the area, has indeed passed away, but her mother is very much alive and living there with her aunt, who stays in a nearby house. I just want to know if there could be any valid reason or explanation for this scenario, as I can't think of any. Her mother seemed fit and healthy, probably around 50 to 60 years old. My girlfriend had asked her best friend to block me on Instagram, claimed her parents were dead, and said only her aunt was alive. However, I discovered that her mother is actually alive and living in her countryside home. This, along with other suspicious behavior, has led to trust issues. Now, I'm unsure how to proceed, as my girlfriend refuses to introduce me to her family and has been dishonest about significant details. Relevant comments. Comment 1. It's over. How could you ever trust her with anything after this? Look, I am sure you are a nice person, but this is many huge lies from her. You need to seriously wake up. Talk to your parents. Figure out a plan. But the marriage can certainly not go forward. Comment 2. Talk to a lawyer first before making any step. Response. Yeah, I saw online that she cannot do anything from her end. Because this is a case of portraying a fake identity of herself. I can file a case of perjury on her if I wish to. But for now I'm not going to do any of those things. If she does something I will take my steps. Comment 3. Just try to check her phone. Phones always have all the secrets. Response. Well, I've already broken up with her, but if I date a girl next I think I will have an open phone policy. BTW asking for a friend. How do you actually implement an open phone policy? Do you just ask your GF, may I use your phone, and just check stuff in it? Or like know the password and stuff of each other and she can use it anytime she wants and you can as well. For this girlfriend I made sure she kept her password known to me. I was able to unlock her phone, but last few days back I checked she had put a separate app lock password on WhatsApp and phone book apps, so I wasn't able to access it. But I had more important things going on in our relationship, so couldn't delve deeper in this issue. Update 2. It's been about a month since I posted my question about the strange behavior of my fiancée and her lying about her mother being dead. Today, I thought I'd post a small and final update on the situation because many of you have been asking for it. After discovering that her mother was still alive, I was in shock for a few days. Gradually, I started to feel better, though I was still eager to understand if I had done anything wrong, especially because I had seen both the good and bad sides of her. Now that some time has passed and I can think more clearly, though I do miss her at times, I've reflected on what I know about her. She's someone who is naturally very compassionate and has shown great kindness towards animals, adopting or helping several stray animals during the 3 years we were together. I've seen her experience happiness, sadness, and vulnerability. While I've seen her good sides, she's also been very harsh in her feelings toward my community, language, my parents, and even me. She has clearly done things that were wrong, like discouraging interaction with her friends and lying about her mother being dead, among other things. She also lied to me another time in the past, which I consider the second biggest lie after the story about her mother's death. This happened one night when she arrived in my city a day earlier than planned from her village home. I found out because I had been calling her repeatedly. She said she wanted to surprise me, but we didn't end up meeting the day because she asked me not to come over, claiming she was tired and feeling unwell. Later that night, I called her multiple times, but she didn't pick up. The next morning, I went to her flat and discovered she wasn't there. A few hours later, she called me from a friend's phone and explained that she had gone to her friend's house because her friend's boyfriend had come to stay, and the watchman wouldn't allow another guy in the flat. So, they pretended to be family relatives to cover it up. I forgave her for lying that time and chose to trust her again. In hindsight, it was another significant lie, the second biggest lie during our entire relationship, with the fake mother's death still being the first. About 7 or 8 days ago, I noticed her repeatedly posting WhatsApp updates about how she was treated badly by me, how she was subjected to loneliness, and how I broke up with her. During that time, I attended a party with some friends, and I saw her posting stories that directly defamed me, even though we had already broken up and I had every right to socialize with whomever I wanted. That day, I messaged her after seeing her status updates, partly because I was angry about what she had posted and partly because I wanted to know the real reason behind her lie about her mother's death. She responded with a lengthy message, but to summarize, she listed the following reasons. She said she lied about her mother being dead because her mother never got the respect she deserved in her past relationship, and her ex-boyfriend probably never let her stay at her mother's village house for more than 2 days. Her ex-boyfriend was roaming around the city with other girls and possibly even cheated on her while her mother was in the hospital. She thought her mother would get proper respect if she lied about her mother being dead, like her deceased father, who was treated respectfully after his death, according to her. None of the reasons she gave seemed serious enough for me to believe. I pointed out that about 90% of her reasons were related to her ex-boyfriend and asked why she had to lie about her mother, especially since I had always been supportive of her family issues. I told her that her explanations didn't make any sense to me at all. She later told me I was wrong to say she has narcissistic personality disorder. I had said that once earlier because she never felt sorry, engaged in gaslighting, and I had read online that these could be symptoms of NPD, so I asked her to seek expert help on this. She said she had consulted a psychologist who diagnosed her with CPTSD, which can cause narcissistic traits at times. Even so, I don't see how that justifies creating such a complex story about her mother to deceive both me and my parents, even going as far as to get a specific date for her mother's death anniversary. She was also upset with my parents because they found the whole situation suspicious and started asking questions. While I feel bad and believe she may be dealing with some behavioral disorders, I also suspect there is a deeper, more complex secret, whether it's hers or her family's, that has led to all these stories. In my last conversation with her, I made it clear that, regardless of what she says, we are not in a position to restore the relationship. I don't want to hurt her by doubting her, nor do I want to hurt myself. Trust is something that cannot be rebuilt after everything that's happened, so I asked her to just tell me the truth. However, nothing substantial came from her that I could consider. Relevant comment. Sounds like it's time cut all ties with her. You're right about narcissistic personality disorder. I have childhood trauma, but I don't go around gaslighting my partner to manipulate them. Don't even bother getting the truth at this point. She will never tell you because even when your relationship was on the line she still spouted lies or half-truths. Story 2.
I took in my inconsiderate sister so that she could study at the local university, but now she comes back rat-faced every night and wakes up our baby. I'm considering throwing her to the streets. I, 25 feet, live in a 3-bedroom apartment with my fiancé, 27 meters. We have a 6-month-old son. My younger sister Mia, 20 feet, recently started attending a university that's closer to where I live than both my parents' places. Because she needs to get to class early in the morning, my fiancé and I allowed her to move into our spare bedroom. She's been living with us since January. There's a set of rules I've been having Mia follow since she moved in, mostly to make sure everyone can live peacefully. One of the most important rules concerns arriving after my son's bedtime, usually between 19 hours and 20 hours. Mia is allowed to come home however late she wants, as long as she doesn't make too much noise. The door to the apartment has an electronic keypad lock, and the one we use also has a normal lock under it. Everyone has a copy of the key, but we all prefer typing in the password. However, the keypad is very noisy, and my son's nursery isn't far from the door. Every time the keypad is used after I put the baby to sleep, he wakes up. So naturally, the rule about getting home late includes not using a keypad. Everyone, including Mia, has known about this since day one. At first, we had no problems. But now that Mia has gotten used to college life, she's been going out at night frequently. This past month, she has arrived home after midnight every Friday and Saturday night. She always forgets the don't make too much noise rule, and she has, on multiple occasions, used the keypad. My son wakes up crying every damn time. I'd sit her down and remind her of the rule whenever this happened, but she'd continue to do it. My fiancé and I got tired of putting our baby back to sleep because of that, so I changed the password and told Mia she was no longer allowed to use the keypad. She agreed, and promised to try to make less noise. On Friday night this week, Mia went out with her friends. She came home very drunk at 4 a.m., and forgot that I'd changed the password. Not only did she use the keypad, she also got the password wrong so many times that she triggered an alarm. I was furious. Not only did my baby wake up crying, but I also got complaints from my neighbors. The next morning, I told Mia that I'm establishing a curfew. While living with me, she needs to be home by 20 hours. She won't be allowed to go out at night for the rest of the semester. Mia put up a fight, saying I have no right to ground her like this or dictate what she does with her free time, but I held my ground. I told her she'll be free to do as she pleases when she has her own place and raises her own family. While living with mine, she has to do as I say. She told our parents about this. Our mother and stepfather are both on my side, our father is on Mia's. He's saying I'm not her mother, and I have no right to treat her like a child. He also thinks it's unfair to do this to her over a drunken mistake. For now, she is living here for free, but only for now. The deal is for her to start paying a small portion of rent when she gets a job. What do you think? Relevant comments. Commenter, what if she never gets a job or takes months? What if she gets a job but doesn't tell you because she prefers freeloading? Response, if the latter happens, I will find out. She tells our mother everything, and my mom would tell me. I know my family. But honestly, I don't need her to pay me right now. My father still gives her some money for personal expenses, so I'm not spending too much on her. Commenter, I'm having genuine trouble how unlocking multiple locks and jangling keys into a door is quieter than a keypad, excluding the alarm, and also wouldn't wake the baby up. Response, it's only one lock. It's not noiseless, but it's quiet enough that it doesn't wake the baby. The keypad makes very loud noises every time something is typed in, as well as another one once the door is open. Commenter, how loud is the lock? Response, very. It makes noises whenever something is typed in, as well as another one once the door has been unlocked. And she's not just quietly typing in the password, she's being loud besides that, slamming the door, knocking stuff over, etc. Commenter, I believe some electronic locks have a silent function. At least my alarm system's keypad does. Although I'm not so sure. I don't have electronic door locks, which is why I asked the question in the first place. Response, the one we use doesn't have a silent function. Commenter, just curious, is it possible to move your nursery to a different room that is further from the door? Not saying that you have to or anything, just wondering if it is a possibility, would it help at all? You are definitely not in the wrong though. Also, have you thought about saying she can go out later, but can't come home between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m.? Basically she can go out, but has to crash elsewhere? Response, a lot of people are asking this, so let me explain why this is not an option. Technically, it is possible. But moving my son from the nursery that I lovingly prepared while pregnant to the room my sister has been messing up since January would require time, effort and patience, none of which I'd have for this situation. I have a baby and a job, as does my fiancé, and I'm 99.9% sure my sister wouldn't help us. I'm making enough efforts as it is, and I refuse to do something like this when she can easily just use her key. As for crashing somewhere else, I have suggested it before. There's always a reason why she can't do it. Update 1. It's very hard to explain my relationship with my younger sister in proper detail, but I will say that, while I love her dearly, Mia has always been a very inconsiderate person. I have countless examples. She almost didn't attend our cousin's wedding last year because she didn't want to walk to the venue, which was 2 blocks away from our mom's place. We shared a bathroom when we were younger, and she'd insist on having the top drawers because she didn't want to crouch down, but she was cool with me doing so. She slept through my college graduation, and didn't apologize for it. I'm bringing this up now because whenever I asked Mia why she kept forgetting to use her key, her excuse was that looking through her bag took too long and the keypad was quicker. In her head, bothering other people is better than slightly inconveniencing herself. After I established the curfew, Mia tried different ways to make me change my mind. She'd talk about not being able to cancel her tickets for Party X, or about the fun her friends had at Party Y. She'd show me her developing LinkedIn profile, and tell me she had learned her lesson and would be more responsible. At first, I really didn't want to have to kick her out, which many of you suggested, but I have limits. A few days ago, I heard her complaining to her friends on the phone about her cow of a sister who wouldn't let her do anything. Later that day, I asked her which of our parents she planned on moving in with. Cue more fighting. I managed to tell her that I had no obligation to continue housing her, for free, if she couldn't respect my family. Mia could either move back in with our parents or continue living with me for the low price of respecting my infant son, and stop complaining about it. We did have a very productive conversation afterwards. I managed to get a lot off my chest, as did my sister. Mia apologized for everything. She admitted she'd been selfish, promised she'd make efforts to change and mature. I'm a strong believer that people can change, which is why I'm not kicking her out right now. But I made it very clear that Mia is on thin ice, and the next time she does anything like this will be the last time she ever sees the inside of my home. The curfew will continue until the end of the semester, as originally planned. My father also agreed to pay for Mia to go back to therapy. It helped her a lot when she was younger, so I'm hopeful about the future of this living situation. I also want to thank those who suggested a white noise machine. My son is not a light sleeper, the keypad is just very loud and startles him awake, but my fiancé and I are still looking into getting one. Anything that helps our baby sleep better is welcome. Relevant comments. Commenter. The fact that she'd rather wake a sleeping infant than go through her purse is just selfish, and lazy is too weak a descriptor for that. Also, the idea that you, not her, is keeping her from doing stuff. Mind-boggling. I'm really happy that she's in therapy because that crap ain't normal. Did your parents never allow her to suffer any consequences for her actions as you were growing up? And or is she incredibly stupid? Response. She did suffer consequences, but Mia never liked hearing the word no, especially from me. I wouldn't even call her lazy, she just genuinely doesn't think about anyone else. If it's a minor inconvenience to her, she probably won't do it. That's why I'm so glad she's returning to therapy. Commenter. You realize that this summer will be her hot girl era and she will still be her. But kudos for second chances. Response. I live in the southern hemisphere. Summer starts in December, and we'll all be traveling for the holidays. But I don't think she'd want to stay with us during the summer anyway. Update 2. Okay, you guys called it. A little under a month ago, my fiancé and I kicked Mia out of my apartment. This actually had very little to do with the keypad thing. After my last post, things were relatively peaceful for a while. And then June came, and Mia decided to go back to her old ways. At first, it was just run-of-the-mill entitlement. She started taking my stuff without permission, whining whenever my baby cried, and complaining about having to do everything, literally just her own laundry. All of that was more annoying than unbearable, so I'd just take my stuff back and let her clothes stink. Then, early in September, Mia went on a holiday beach trip with her friends. The day after she left, I noticed my diaper bag and one of my son's blankets were missing. Both were expensive gifts my best friend gave me for my baby shower. I checked every room in the apartment, and found all of the items that had been in the diaper bag dumped on Mia's bed. She had emptied the bag to use it as extra luggage. The blanket was in a separate pocket, so she took it by mistake. Later, when I got them back, they were both dirty and sandy. I called Mia as soon as I found the items. Her reasoning for taking the diaper bag was that she didn't want to empty her school bag, and her computer wouldn't fit anywhere else. She also called me dramatic when I told her to apologize. That's when I kicked her out. I told her that once she got back, she'd have 1 week to grab her things and move back to either of our parents' places. My sister spent the rest of her trip trying to convince me otherwise. She also tried to get my parents on her side. My mom told her she brought it on herself. My father did try to convince me to be nice, but I told him I already had been. Mia tried to pick a fight about it when she got back from her trip, but I didn't budge. She moved out officially a couple weeks ago. My mom is making her save money so she can pay me back for the, almost, 8 months of rent she owes me. To be honest, I'm writing this mostly to vent. Being an older sister is exhausting. The house is always on fire, but you can never be the one freaking out. You're like a second mother, but not an actual parent, so your younger sibling feels no need to respect you. At least that was my experience growing up. My mom is fantastic, but she still acknowledges that I was basically Mia's third parent. My father was a good dad, but a mediocre parent, and he refuses to understand that. He also doesn't accept that after the divorce, I was more responsible for Mia than he was. I love my sister dearly, but she's always treated me as an afterthought. For a few years, she'd contact me almost exclusively when she needed a ride. I'd spend a crap ton of money on presents, she'd give me a $2 gift 2 months after my actual birthday. This happened 3 separate times, including this year. The list goes on. It always felt like I was the last thing on her mind. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I was always there for her. I will always love my sister, and I do believe she loves me too. But I also understand she's too selfish to realize she treats me poorly. I have to focus on my son, and I can't put up with Mia's immaturity right now. Do I regret letting her move in with me? No. Do I regret not kicking her out back in May? Also no. To be honest, I think I needed that. Knowing I tried has always helped me sleep at night. Plus, living with Mia wasn't all bad. Accompanying the Drake/Kendrick Lamar feud with her was pretty fun, at first, at least. My sister and I are on speaking terms. She was pissed at first, but got over it once she realized that literally no one was really taking her side. She's back to transitioning between our parents' places every week. I don't miss that lifestyle. Mia hates it, as it takes her longer to get to her classes every morning. She's apologized, but I'm not letting her move back in with me. My son's turning 1 in a couple of weeks. Mia is invited to his birthday party, but I'm not expecting her to show up. My fiancé and I are getting married in a little under a year, and she's invited to that too. I hope my sister can learn to be more considerate, and that we can improve our relationship someday. But I'm done being the only one putting in the effort. This will be my final post. Thank you.
Story 3. My wife has no job and constantly orders takeouts, but now she's financially shafted us by taking out the fattest loan, so I hereby declare this relationship over. Original poster, u/careful_credit_4645. I, 41 meters, am married to my wife, 39 feet, who doesn't work due to a minor disability. It's not as if she cannot work, but she complains of discomfort and exhaustion all the time. The discussion over her working basically ended 5 years ago, and I have completely given up on the prospect of her ever having a job again. Seeing as she doesn't even come close to qualifying for disability and brings in no income, we currently live entirely off my salary. I do not mind financially supporting her, but my wife's spending habits have gradually become more and more reckless. It began with her ordering takeout twice a week, and then that escalated into 3 times a week, and now she's ordering takeout nearly every day. This is all despite our fridge being stocked constantly. I do the shopping, and I make sure to even keep our freezer full of things she would only have to microwave. Last month was a particularly heavy one for her. She spent $1,176 on delivery apps alone. We cannot afford this. There were several days that she ordered twice. I may have reacted harshly, but on Friday, I pulled money out of our savings, completely paid off the card, and then canceled it. I then removed all the money from our joint account and funneled it into my own account. Apparently my wife learned this when she tried to order takeout. She tried to call the company who explained the card had been canceled. She texted me asking what had happened, and I responded that she was cut off. Well, when I walked in the door that evening, my wife was lying on the floor dramatically saying that she had low blood sugar. I told her she could eat any of the food we have in our fridge or freezer. I also noticed that she took the garbage out, probably for the first time in a decade. I'm surprised she even knew where the outdoor bin was. I can only assume she was disposing of the evidence of what she ate, as she was pretending to have not eaten, but I honestly don't care enough to dig through the garbage to find it. She was furious at me all weekend. Was what I did over the top? What should I do in this situation? Update. 9 days ago, I made a post about how my unemployed wife had spent $1,176 on delivery apps in just a month. This is egregiously outside of what we can afford to spend on takeout, and since she didn't seem willing to stop, I canceled our credit card and moved the money from our joint account into my own. For the following few days, my wife kept talking about how I was financially abusing her. She threw several tantrums despite apparently being severely malnourished, threatened divorce, threw a bunch of the food we had in the fridge away to try and strong-arm me into letting her get takeout, and even tried to guess my bank account password a bunch of times. Sorry, my password isn't Taco Bell 123. That last one was how I learned if you try to guess someone's bank account password enough times, the bank will send them an automated email. But last Friday, the complaints and threats stopped. She seemed mostly back to normal. I figured she had given up. That was until today, which was garbage day. When I took the last bag out before taking the bin down to the curb, I discovered half a dozen fast food bags and other takeout containers in it. My wife wasn't supposed to have access to money. I had no idea how she was affording the food. I confronted her about it, and first she denied everything. I had to bring all of her fast food garbage in to get her to fess up. She had taken out a loan. Now, I thought that she had borrowed money from a friend or family member. But she had taken out one of those predatory payday loans. Before you ask, no, I have no idea how she was approved. Within the next hour, I froze my credit. I then drove her to the payday loan place, where I paid the loan off in cash. I will now have to dip further into my savings to pay the rent. I suppose in a certain way, cutting her off was successful. She didn't order takeout anymore. She just drove to the restaurants to pick up her food, for the low price of $20 for every $100 she borrowed, or $60 in fees in total. In addition, I told her that we would be getting divorced. So yeah, my marriage is over. I don't even know what alimony laws in my state are like, but I assume she'll happily live in a cardboard box under a bridge if Uber Eats will bring her food there. Relevant comment. I think divorce is the best course of action here. She needs professional help, but that's not your problem anymore. I'm glad you took steps to protect yourself financially. Sadly, there is just fundamentally something wrong with her, and soon she'll self-destruct, starting with the divorce. Update 2. When I paid off the payday loan, I decided that would be the last thing I ever did for her. It was far more than she deserved. My sister has been addicted to Thunder for over 20 years. I haven't talked to her in about a decade, but this was the kind of crap that she would pull. I remember how she and her loser boyfriend would steal anything from my room to pawn so they could buy more Big H, and I honestly wouldn't put it past my wife at this point to start selling my things so she could buy more Chipotle. I'm sorry. I'm just so furious. As I worked every day, my wife sat around ordering takeout and living like a queen, and when the, almost literal, gravy train stopped, she decided to imperil our financial future for more food. And my God, she has gotten so fat. She's basically waddling around like a penguin now. But what really pisses me off is that after taking out that payday loan, instead of putting it into a new account to order takeout, she went to the restaurant drive-thrus. It was almost as if she wanted to stretch it to last for as long as possible, which wasn't an issue when it was money that I earned. She knew that the payday loan was probably a one-time Hail Mary, so she actually, in her own twisted little way, tried to exercise financial responsibility. People in the last post yelled at me for not communicating. We had fought about this dozens of times. Every time the credit card bill rolled in, I would tell her she needed to stop, that we were losing everything because of her habit. I told her again and again and again, but she didn't give a damn. She needed more of that garbage. I honestly don't give a damn either. If she's depressed, I don't care. If she's agoraphobic, which I doubt, I don't care. She has never shown even the slightest bit of remorse. Eventually, even my sister with her thunder-addled brain apologized for stealing my GameCube. My wife couldn't even do that. She's a lazy piece of crap faking a disability, and people were blaming me as if that absolved her of all wrongdoing. If it makes me an asshole, fine. I'm not messing up the rest of my life because some dim-witted sloth with a Diasabi Litai can only muster up the energy to get off her ass when it involves food she bought with money that someone else earned. Relevant comment. I'm sorry to hear this update. Given that she risked tanking her credit for something as dumb as a payday loan, it seems like this might be about more than takeout, and could indicate a deeper emotional problem for her. I hope that she addresses it before her life unravels, and that you find some peace after the separation. Update 3. I honestly don't even care about her anymore. I'm actually kind of happy about the payday loan. You see, I read through every comment in the last post. All of them. And I tried to understand her feelings. People kept telling me that she had mental health issues, or that she needed therapy. I did my best to understand, and I was actually going to start giving her $300 of prepaid credit card spending money every month as was suggested. Could we typically afford $300 per month on her takeout? Not really, no. But it would have been something for her to look forward to. Now all I can think is that with her issues, she was allowed to be as self-centered as she wanted. But when was it going to be my turn to have something for myself? My work boots have a giant hole in them that I've duct taped closed twice, and that $1,176 would have bought me the best work boots out there. So I had people wagging a finger at me in the last post. You're an asshole for how you treat her for her disability. Screw that, screw her, and screw the people who said this was somehow all my fault. But I'm sure the same people will show up with some delusional fantasy about her having a wonderful post-breakup blow-up or something. This is my final post. Story 4.
My husband is accusing our daughter of being shallow, after she turned down a boy's advances, and now I'm getting heat from him for defending her choice. Original poster, u/additional ear 3686. My husband picked up our daughter, Cindy, from school, and he saw her talking to a classmate she previously had a crush on. For context, last year during a sleepover, my husband and I overheard Cindy's friends teasing her lightly about having a crush on this boy. My husband also joined in with some innocent jokes like, Cindy and boys sitting in a tree, KISSING, that kind of silliness, and he sometimes randomly brings it up to tease her, like asking if she wants to invite her boyfriend on family outings. As far as we know, she never actually dated him or even became friends with him. Her dad just likes to tease her. Anyway, apparently, over the summer, the boy was injured in an accident and missed the first couple of weeks of school as a result. When my husband was picking her up, he saw them talking and noticed the boy had significant scarring on his face and hand. When my husband asked Cindy what had happened to him and what they were talking about, mentioning that the boy looked disappointed, she explained the accident to him and said that the boy had asked her out on a date, but she had turned him down. My husband was furious and scolded her for being so shallow as to reject him because his appearance had changed. Cindy was crying when she got home, and she told me everything. She insisted she had been polite when turning him down and was just no longer interested in him romantically. I told my husband to apologize to our daughter and that he never should have made her feel bad for turning down someone's romantic advances. I explained that Cindy is old enough to decide who she is attracted to, and it would be cruel to say yes out of pity and lead him on. My husband now says he sees me differently and thinks I should be ashamed for teaching Cindy to be a shallow monster and ageless. He is also upset that I undermined him when he was disciplining her and argues that we should never undermine each other's authority in front of our child. I wasn't trying to undermine him, I just don't think it's healthy to make our daughter feel guilty and ashamed for not being romantically interested in someone. I do feel bad for the boy, but I don't think it's anyone's place, neither mine nor my husband's, to tell Cindy she has to date someone or that she's a bad person for not doing so. What do you think? Edit. Wow, I didn't expect so many responses when I posted this last night before bed. I'm trying to get through all the replies so I can approach this with my husband later today. I'm also planning to talk to Cindy privately about the situation. Thank you so much for all the responses, I feel more confident now in my decision to defend Cindy. My husband isn't a bad guy. He didn't tease Cindy to hurt her, it was meant to be playful, and Cindy usually just brushed him off when he made those jokes. I think my husband was short-sighted in this situation, but he's not a bad father. He loves me and his daughter very much, even though he makes mistakes sometimes. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Just because Cindy may or may not have had a crush on this boy last year doesn't mean she always will, especially after not seeing him all summer. Your husband made a huge assumption that the only reason Cindy isn't interested anymore is because of the boy's scarring. He didn't ask her, he jumped to conclusions and pushed an unfortunate narrative that Cindy owed this boy her attention. She doesn't. You need to point out to your husband that what's ableist is insisting that Cindy date a boy purely because he now has scarring and that she can't turn him down because he deserves it to make up for what happened to him. That's a gross way to view disability. If he had concerns about Cindy judging only by appearances, he could have had a calm and reasoned conversation with her. He chose not to. That's on him. Comment 2. I'm also wondering if his constant teasing contributed to her loss of interest in the guy. My dad did this to me too, and I tended to drop crushes because it felt like he was shaming me for liking someone. Plus, I knew that if I actually dated the crush, the teasing would only get worse. In the end, I stopped telling my parents about my crushes because I couldn't handle the incessant teasing. That stuff hurts your self-esteem. Comment 3. My dad shamed me for breaking up with my first boyfriend, and that was the last straw that made me lose all respect for him. My dad didn't know it at the time, because he was the kind of person who would attack a kid, but that boyfriend had been pressuring 14-year-old me. No, thank you. But of course, I was the one being blamed for breaking up with him and for being friendly with other guys too soon afterward. I don't have a relationship with my dad anymore, and this was just one of many reasons. Parents never know 100% of the story when it comes to romances, so it's never their place to punish or reprimand a child for relationship decisions. Update. Hi, everyone. I received a lot of responses yesterday, so I thought I should update you on what has happened since I posted. I wanted to address a few things I saw in the comments. Many people implied or outright said that if Cindy's reasons for turning down the boy, Sam, were primarily due to his change in appearance, then my husband was right in calling her a shallow monster, and I was enabling her. This didn't sit right with me, and it hurt to hear. But people also pointed out that if the roles were reversed and it was my daughter whose appearance had changed, I would probably be livid if a boy rejected her. These comments made me reflect deeply on the situation, and I'm really glad I was asked these questions because it helped clarify the lessons I want my daughter to take from this. I realized that while I would be upset if this happened to my daughter, I wouldn't be angry at the boy for rejecting her, as long as he treated her with respect. I would be upset at the unfairness of the situation, but I would never expect someone to fix that injustice at the expense of their own autonomy. Instead, I would comfort my daughter and explain that people are like puzzle pieces, not all of them fit together, and just because a boy she liked wasn't a match doesn't make her any less valuable or beautiful. One day, she will find someone who does fit well with her. The lesson I want my daughter to learn is that she's not shallow for rejecting someone romantically, regardless of the reason, even if it's physical. Everyone is owed respect and decency, but not romantic affection. Denying someone respect based on appearance would be shallow, but she didn't do that. Her romantic affection is not a commodity to be handed out, it belongs to her alone. She has the right to decide who she shares it with. Many comments helped me realize how important it is for Cindy to feel that her consent matters. What starts as going on a date she doesn't want could escalate into her feeling pressured into more dangerous or traumatizing situations. Thank you so much to the commenters who shared their stories, which helped me see this more clearly. Some people speculated that I would likely leave my husband if his appearance changed. Sorry to disappoint, but I would never do that. I love my husband deeply. Our relationship is built on much more than dating or a crush. We've built a life together, and a change in his appearance wouldn't change my love for him. We've been married long enough that my attraction to him goes far deeper than looks. Maybe it would be different if we were just dating and barely knew each other, but things change when you make vows to stick together in sickness and in health. Many people are claiming that my husband is a monster and harmful. It may seem that way if all you know about him is this one situation, but he is a full human being. He does more for this family every day than I could ever express in one post. He has issues with anger, in that he often says things he regrets in the heat of the moment. But when he cools off, he is always open to listening and communicating. I now understand how damaging his teasing of Cindy about Sam was last year, and I will make sure that doesn't happen again. However, I assure you all that this is something he did out of ignorance, not malice. He loves Cindy to bits and would never intentionally do something to harm her. Okay, onto what happened yesterday. My husband woke up and left the house early, so I didn't get a chance to talk to him. When Cindy woke up, I made sure she was okay and told her I wanted to talk to her about what happened the day before. Her friend's mom gave her a ride home, and she got here before my husband did, so we were able to have a heart-to-heart. I told her that she doesn't need to explain to me or anyone why she changed her mind about Sam, and I explained to her all the things I mentioned above. That Sam was going through something very hard and she should be kind to him, but she does not owe him a date if she is not interested in him romantically. That she isn't shallow and should never feel pressured to do something with someone she doesn't want to do, and that her dad was upset and said things he didn't mean. Even so, he still loves her, and so do I. She started to cry, so I held her for a while. She told me she was more upset than anything that her dad thinks of her as a bad person. This broke my heart, so I told her I would talk to her dad about it when he got home. When my husband got home, I told him we needed to talk about yesterday. He didn't want to at first, but I insisted and told him it was about Cindy's well-being, as she was still upset and even thought her own father considered her a bad person. This upset him, and he said of course he didn't think that. I basically explained my thoughts above, and although he was a bit resistant at first and insisted that he just didn't want Cindy to become a shallow person, he really listened when I explained how people might take advantage of her in the future if she starts to feel like her consent and desires don't matter. I didn't show him the post I made, but I wrote down some of the comments and stories and read them to him. I told him they were stories I found on Reddit from people who experienced something similar. I didn't show him my post because so many comments unfairly painted him as a monster, and I was worried it would make him defensive. I think it broke through to him because he was really upset at the thought of our daughter one day being manipulated into staying with someone who was hurting her. He went to talk to her privately in her room while I prepared dinner, and afterward, she seemed a lot happier and was joking around with her dad again. Today, they're both planning to go bowling together as well. Thank you, everyone, for the advice, the stories, and for motivating me to stick to my decision to defend Cindy. You guys are awesome. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Unfortunately, whether you want to recognize it or not, the fact that your husband's immediate response to your daughter turning down a date with a boy was to call her a monster, call her horrible, and tell her that he never wants to see her again is indicative of abusive behavior. That doesn't mean that your husband is ultimately abusive, but that he displays some abusive traits that need to either be worked on now, or you need to get out of that house before they turn even more abusive. No father who genuinely loves and cares about his child would sit there and call her a monster because she turned down a date with a boy. No father who has respect for his child would do that. No father who wants to be involved in his child's life would say that. Your husband needs to get into some serious anger management classes or therapy to work through whatever it is that causes him to explode and say things that he regrets. Because it's not going to just stop at words. It never does. Comment 2. Your husband called your daughter a shallow monster and said that he would never look at her or you the same way again. And he did this for checks notes turning down a date with a boy she hadn't seen for months. Your husband needs help. Your daughter probably does too, now. Those are the kinds of words that stay with a person forever.
Story 5. My wife returned from a bachelorette party like a new woman, suddenly becoming affectionate and lovey-dovey, but should I be worried I'm being gaslit and played? Original poster, /throwaway_to_p. I, 34 meters, have been with my wife, 34 feet, for 10 years. She has never been an affectionate person, and I'm the opposite. I'm very tactile, I love hugging, kissing, cuddling, holding hands, admiring her curves. I'm deeply attracted to her and I've done my best to cope with minimal reciprocation. It's been an issue for the both of us, nothing deal-breaking, we're just different kinds of people and we've accepted that. We still love each other. A month ago she was gone for a few days at a friend's bachelorette party out of state. I stayed with the kiddo at home. We talked each night before she went to bed, no words. I've got my insecurities having been in a prior relationship with a habitual cheater, but she's never done anything that gives me a reason not to trust her. Everything's good. We pick her up from the airport, and she goes on about how listening to the other participants of the party complain about their husbands, she feels lucky to have me, and it makes her appreciate me more. I'm over the moon. It's incredible to hear her say nice things about me to my face. I'm ecstatic. It feels great. Over the next few days, we have incredible intimacy like maybe never before. She runs her hands through my hair as she walks past me in the house. She runs her hands over my body. She's never acted this way. It's like she's a new person. I'm over here just getting washed away in the love, but at the same time I'm curious. My insecurities get the best of me and I check her phone while she sleeps one night. Several hours before she flew back home, she received a message in a group chat with one other party-goer, the bride-to-be, and my wife. They had a separate chat with the entire party. The message was one of those text-on-image meme things, whatever they're called. It said married people with kids and careers find time to have affairs. Don't let a single person tell you they're too busy for you. My wife responded with a skull emoji, nothing else in the thread. So now I'm a little worried something happened. Am I being gaslit and love-bombed after an affair? Did she actually alter her perspective during her trip and is making a concerted effort to show appreciation? Am I overreacting? Relevant comments. Comment 1. When my sister had an affair with her ex, I became extremely close to my husband and very cuddly and clingy. It's like knowing my sister was cheating. It could happen to me type panic. I feel like one of the girls is cheating. Everyone knows. It became a joke and your partner became conscious that maybe they were giving you an opportunity, or if that woman X who is cheating can cheat and have a perfect relationship, that you could do the same. Honestly, you might be two people afraid of being cheated on by each other right now, and maybe you should bond over that instead of letting it divide you. Comment 2. You're bringing up a great point. When my wife found that one of her friends had stepped out on her longtime boyfriend and she shares a house with, my wife got super affectionate. She would tell me how happy she was with me and that she felt really grateful that she was with a guy like me. She even started getting adventurous and ordered some really cool undergarments. It occurred to me that she might be stepping things up because her friend had stepped out. Of course, being the kind of guy that I am, I made sure to give her all the affirmation she needs to know that she is wonderful. It seems like your wife is most likely doing the same thing. Bro is totally overreacted. Update. I wasn't expecting so many comments the first time around. It was a good reminder of what a petri dish humans on the internet are. After going through everything, the majority of comments supported that my wife was being truthful with me, and like I said, I've never had a reason not to trust her. I appreciate everyone who had level-headed takes. It helped me remember how wonderful of a person my wife is, and provided impetus for me to make the conscious decision to shut out my insecurities and truly trust her. It was entertaining to see the few trolls give their 2 cents, and a couple of bizarre DMs really spice things up. We have had a couple heart-to-heart conversations since my first post, and at this point we're in the best place, maybe ever, of our relationship. Our communication has never been so transparent, honest, and empathetic. I brought up the meme, the group chat, etc., and because my wife is so comfortable and understanding, she wasn't upset. She didn't take offense because I was able to communicate that it stemmed from my own insecurities, nothing she did. She explained that during the trip, the other woman, Ashley, in the smaller group chat, not the engaged, sent the meme after talking crap all weekend long about how she messes around on her husband, she doesn't respect him, etc. My wife said Ashley was essentially fishing for validation of her crappy behavior from the other women at the bachelorette party the whole time they were there. At one point, Ashley stayed at the Airbnb by herself while everyone else went out to have fun. Later on, Ashley posted on social media as if she was at this particular venue with the rest of the party, that was discussed and deemed suspicious by the other ladies. I should also clarify, my wife only knew the bride-to-be at this party. She did not know Ashley or anybody else until she met them on the trip. I say that because a few commented on the last post that even if it were someone else that cheated to everyone's knowledge at the party, it would be highly suspect for my wife to condone this behavior and be friends with this person. But Ashley is a stranger, neither of us even know her husband. My wife's engaged friend doesn't even live in our state. Anyways, I've been completely open and honest with my wife since the last post. Well, except for these posts, we're doing incredibly well. I'm basking in all the wonderful affection I've dreamed of for years. I'm just hoping this will last a long, long time. I'm glad I didn't do anything more stupid when I was overreacting. Relevant comment. That's awesome. Sounds like your wife saw someone else playing with fire and is appreciating what she is now. I loved a comment on the previous post that said something to the effect that the grass is greener when you take care and water it, and the same is true for relationships. Story 6.
My husband and I are about to go nuclear on my sister-in-law for how she's treating her kids, but the rest of the family are trying to stop us from saving them. Original poster, u/Agent Papier. Hey everyone, my husband, 34 meters, and I, 36 feet, are in a tough situation with my sister-in-law, Barbara, 41 feet, and we need an outside perspective on whether we're overreacting or if our stance is justified. We're leaning toward the latter but are open to thoughts. Thanks in advance. Barbara has 4 boys, Liam, 17, Oliver, 14, Ryan, 13, and Carter, 7. Despite her having a rough history with bad relationships, her kids have always been well behaved. The only constant man in her life has been Reese, 48 meters, her on and off husband, who does nothing for her or the kids except work. He blows his money gambling, cheats on her openly, and relies on her for everything else. For 7 years, she's come to us, venting about him, swearing it's the last time, but always goes back. In 2020, after yet another huge fight, the entire family intervened. We sat her down, told her we were here to help with anything she needed, lawyers, a safe place for her and the kids, even handling the legal stuff if necessary. She agreed to kick him out, but within 6 months, he was back because he couldn't find a place to stay. This grown man, who has worked a steady job for 20 years, somehow needed help. Since then, things have gotten progressively worse. Barbara decided to stick with marriage counseling, even though the whole family urged her to leave. She's clung to the idea of honoring her marriage, despite the toxic environment. As a result, her kids have started to suffer. The eldest, Liam, started skipping school and smoking heavily. A few months ago, my husband got a 2 a.m. call from Liam, who said he was feeling super depressed and afraid to act on it. When we got to their house, we learned he had told his stepdad the same thing, and Reese told him to just end it because no one would care. My husband, understandably, punched him in the face. We took Liam to the hospital and, after his release, brought him home with us for 3 weeks to help him recover. Eventually, Liam returned to his mom's house, thinking things had smoothed over, but they quickly fell apart again. Soon enough, the second oldest, Oliver, began having issues too. For months, they had been fighting constantly, and we didn't realize how bad it had gotten until we couldn't get in touch with either of them. Barbara had gone silent. My husband showed up at her house unannounced, something our family often does for fun, only to find out that she had washed her hands of Liam and Oliver for being disrespectful and kicked them out. She had even turned off their phones and didn't know where they were staying. We found out that they'd been crashing with friends for weeks, trying to stay under the radar because they were embarrassed. We picked them up from school and brought them home with us again. They told us that their mom and stepdad had been bullying them, constantly fighting, and that they didn't feel safe going back. Barbara admitted that she put them out but insisted things weren't as bad as they made it sound. Now, my husband and I want to go full nuclear, report this to CPS, the police, and anyone who can intervene. But the rest of the family wants to handle it internally. We feel like 2 minors were abandoned, and that deserves an extreme response. But the family is now saying we're overreacting and that, at the end of the day, these are not our children. So, are we the assholes for wanting to report this situation and not leave it to family discussions? The 2 oldest boys are with us for now, but we're ready to escalate this. Relevant comments. Comment 1. 100% harm. And although the oldest 2 were the only ones kicked out, we all know that it was only because they pushed back. All 4 of those kids are suffering the same harm. The oldest 2 are the only ones who have the ability to stand up against it. This has been going on for far too long while the family stood by and watched. They had a chance to handle this, and yet did nothing. This isn't about appeasing the family, this is protecting those poor defenseless children and advocating for them all, when they can't do it for themselves. Comment 2. No, don't wait for a business day. This needs to be handled now. A call to CPS and the police. You can't kick your kids out of your home. There are still 2 kids in the home, they need to be checked on too. Update. It's been nearly 2 weeks since I made my original post, and it's been a wild ride. I have to be incredibly vague because of the newly opened case, but here's the most important thing, all of our nephews are safe with us. The boys have always had a place here and have visited often since they were tiny, long before any of this chaos started. So while the transition has been emotionally jarring for them, the move itself was thankfully smooth. Now, as for Barbara and Reese, they're facing charges regarding their treatment of the boys. It was worse than we originally thought. Barbara seems remorseful, but my husband is still livid. He believes she's only feeling sorry now that everything's out in the open and consequences are on the table. Whether her remorse is genuine or not, I'm just relieved we took action when we did, because it's terrifying to think how much worse things could have gotten if we hadn't. Family-wise, everything is a mess. The entire family is split over this, and it's not even worth the text to go over the thoughts of those who oppose us. Those who have sided with us, however, have been a tremendous help. Even though there are a lot of family issues and the logistics are complicated, fuck it, we made the right decision. What I can share in more detail is that soon after I posted, Reese showed up at our house, demanding that the boys return home with him. They refused. I told him to leave, but he escalated things, got loud, aggressive, and started cursing at me and the boys. My husband wasn't home at the time, he was out picking up clothes and toiletries for Liam and Oliver. I can only assume Reese felt emboldened by my husband's absence because, out of nowhere, he sucker punched me right in the mouth. And I'm not ashamed to admit, I saw red. I swung back. It wasn't smart, but I did. He wasn't expecting that. I'm nice and really easygoing, but I guess I forgot that. I jumped on him, and let's just say he didn't expect a fight. I might not have landed the best hits, but he wasn't prepared for one at all. He scrambled out of there and sped off. I immediately called 911 while the boys called my husband, who thankfully was just around the corner. I'm fine, just ended up with a busted lip that looked worse than it was, though my husband insisted I go to urgent care. The police met us there, and that's when we reported everything, Reese's assault and the whole situation with the boys. Reese and Barbara were picked up the next day. And in the middle of all this crap, I found out I'm pregnant. Yep. While I was at urgent care, they ran a routine test and boom, positive. I had no idea. No symptoms or anything, but it's still super early. All things aside, thank you for all of the comments, advice, and ideas. Your support made a difference, and my nephews are safe. Bye. Relevant comment. Anyone else think of the woman who took a hammer to a guy's window when he threw hot coffee on her in the fast food drive-thru? And her interview where she said, women are allowed to have responses other than crying? Bravo to this woman taking a stance for her nephews and, most importantly, herself. It's disgusting that there are people like Reese who will attack people who they think won't defend themselves.
Story 7.
My husband has turned into a resentful monster ever since I quit being a stay-at-home mom and becoming independent, and it feels like I'm walking on eggshells, so I think our marriage has reached its final chapter. Original poster, u/I Hardy Outdo. My husband and I have been together for 16 years, and we have 2 kids. It's mostly been a good relationship, with normal ebbs and flows. The past year has been pretty difficult on my end, and I think I've reached my breaking point. I just want to make it clear before I start that my husband is a good man, and I do love him. I've been a stay-at-home mom for most of our marriage. It was out of necessity rather than desire on my part. My husband was working at building his business, and we needed the flexibility of me being home. I had a job I loved, but I didn't make much, and it just made sense at the time. I also homeschool our children because it works well for us. I did all the normal stay-at-home mom stuff, dinner, cleaning, laundry, bills, etc. He did help when needed and was never resentful of it. He worked very long hours, and lots of weekends, but I supported him because owning his own business was his dream. About 3 years ago, I started to feel some fatigue from being the primary caregiver of our children. I wanted more and our business was pretty stable, so we agreed that I'd go back to school. Our children are old enough now that schooling them is less hands-on, so again, it made sense. I graduated with my 2-year degree last year and started nursing school shortly thereafter. This is when things started to get rough. Nursing school is a total time suck, it requires so much time and so much energy. We discussed the shifting of responsibility and how difficult this was going to be on all of us, and he said he was supportive. He started making snide comments about things he was doing at home, things I had always taken care of, things that I guess he just didn't realize I did. I tried to communicate with him, see what could be done to make things easier on him for this transition. He is not a good communicator though, so I didn't push, a mistake on my part. The comments started getting more frequent and meaner. We've never been mean to each other. It's just not how we fight. Or rather, hasn't been how we fight. He started getting resentful of the time I was up at school, or volunteering. I do volunteer quite a bit. Summer came and I thought things would get better. I got a job where I work a few days a week from 7 to 7. I love my job so much and it's really nice to finally be able to contribute to our income. It's really empowering. Over the past few months, I've become a lot more independent. Historically I've needed my husband a lot. I had some really serious depression after our kids, and I couldn't do much without him, like, go to the doctor or grocery shop or whatever. Over the past 5 years I've gotten that under control. Through nursing school, I've made a lot new friends that I like to spend time with. We grab quick dinners, and sometimes head to the movies. This apparently bothers my husband, though he's never actually verbalized it. I started to come home from an activity, volunteering or a night out with friends, to rage on his part. He would yell at me, call me names, and say horribly hurtful things. He went through and read my text messages, trying to find something I'm doing wrong. My friend group is mixed female and male, and most are younger than I am. When I come home, I never know how he'll react. Last night was pretty bad. He stopped replying to my random I love you texts, and this morning didn't bother to say it back. He's hanging up on me, he's ignoring me, he's treating me really badly. He twists my words and ascribes them emotions that I'm just not feeling. I feel like I'm dying inside. Any self-esteem I've gained from following my dreams, he's crushing. While I don't think he's harmful to me, I feel a lot like I did when I was in a harmful relationship. Walking on eggshells, trying to test the room when I walk in. Afraid to do anything that might upset him, being overly nice so that he'll be nice back. To be clear, I'm home most nights. I might go out with friends once a week, or twice, but once is during the day. Like this week, Sunday I went to dinner with a friend that was leaving for New York the next day. I was gone, 2 hours maybe. Monday I was home. Tuesday I was working all day, then went up to the school for midnight registration. Wednesday is my weekly volunteer day and whoever is volunteering goes out for food after for about an hour. Today I'm working a short shift. Tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday I'm home. I'm just done. I'm so tired of feeling badly about myself. Like I'm doing something wrong. I've tried to talk about all of this 1,000 times. I never fight back when he's yelling at me or calling me names. I've suggested counseling, I'm going to therapy myself, but he's not interested. The problem is, I don't want my marriage to be over. I love him and I promised him forever. I don't break my promises. I just want things to go back to where they were a year ago. I need help. What should I do? Thanks in advance. Relevant comments. Comment 1. You need to hold your ground on this, he is harming you. He needs to openly discuss and admit that you being independent is bugging him. Now he's just allowing it to build up to the point divorce will be your only option. He needs to discuss either openly with you or go to counseling, if not there's no way to recover. Response. Thanks for your reply. He does tell me that my independence bothers him, he feels like I don't need him anymore, or that I'll be okay without him, which I would, as he would without me. But he won't do anything to resolve these feelings, or communicate what I can do to reassure him that I do still need him. It's one of those I don't need you to save me, I need you to stand by me while I save myself type of things, and he's just not okay with that. Comment 2. If he can't see you grow into a position that he himself was, or still is, then it sounds like he has a very dominant type of personality, dealing with such people is hard. If it affects your love for him and harms your kids then I would definitely get out of there. I'm the son of a single mother. As much as I love my father, he couldn't support us. While it sounds a little different for you, he definitely seems to see this as a sort of competition. Response. The competition things is so on the money. My gosh. And while I like to think that my kids don't know what's going on, that's very short-sighted of me. Update. While my original post didn't get a ton of feedback, I thought I'd update. About a month after I posted, I asked him for a separation. He agreed. I moved out and I've got my own place now. I thought maybe moving out would be the wake-up call that was needed to save the marriage, but it wasn't. However, it turned out to be the best thing for all of us. We share custody of our children, and they transitioned to public school and are doing very, very well. I'm doing pretty well, too. It's been hard, and there have been a lot of ups and downs, but it's been worth it. We're all so much happier now, and my ex and I are working really well together to co-parent our kids and we're even friends. We'll always be there for each other, but we're better off apart. Not the happy ending that I was hoping for, but a happy ending nonetheless. Relevant comment. Sounds like she made the right call in the end. Sometimes you can't fix what's already broken.